I love folk wisdom as much as the next guy, and therefore, when I hear things like absence makes the heart fonder, practice makes perfect, ooh, a part of me just immediately goes all like, yeah, that makes total sense. One of those pieces of folk wisdom is never meet your heroes. Yet today, I met Yang Amat Berhormat Dato Seri Anwar Ibrahim, the 10th Prime Minister of Malaysia. It wasn't like I did this intentionally, by the way. There's a whole series of events that led up to this right here. I interviewed this person, that person, this person, that person, and before I knew it, I ended up with 4 invitations to the memorial service of Professor Syed Husin Ali, a famous academic who wrote books like A People's History of Malaysia and a range of other things. And then I decided to go because I knew a bunch of people. What I didn't realize at the time was that on the brochure for the thing, it said, disempurnakan oleh YAB Dato Seri Anwar Ibrahim. I mean, it's not every day that you just somehow realize that you're going to meet the literal leader of your nation. To be honest, a lot of people don't just not like Anwar Ibrahim. They detest him with every single fiber of their being. They loathe the idea that reforms have taken too long, have not gone far enough, but somehow or another, as time went by, I felt myself drawn to this idea that somehow I'll be leading the leader of my country. Especially since I bought this. This is The Asian Renaissance. It's a book that was written by Anwar Ibrahim many years ago, way before he became Prime Minister of Malaysia. I bought it from Shopee for 250 ringgit from a lady named Latifa. If you're out there trying to find a PDF copy, rest assured, I tried as well, and I discovered that this was the only copy that was left on the entire market. And I figured to myself, you know what? Let's go right ahead and get this side. Brought this thing over, and if you don't know what this is right here, that's basically the pen that Anwar used when he signed the documents that made him the Prime Minister of Malaysia. Suddenly, there I was at University of Malaya, getting lost amongst a bunch of other people right there, eventually finding where I was supposed to go, and then Prime Minister Anwar came in just casually, and then it dawned upon me. Standing in front of me right there was the actual 10th Prime Minister of Malaysia. Like, he literally just came up randomly to the group of people that was in front right there, and I guess that makes sense because that was technically the VIP seats right there. He extended his hands to every single person and he started shaking their hands right there. I was just casually standing there, sitting in a seat that I apparently wasn't supposed to be sitting in. And then he just extends his hand, and what do I do right there? Well, before I know it, I am shaking the Prime Minister's hand. I still remember that feeling. The way that I was just staring like a deer in headlights, looking at the man, touching the hand and feeling to myself that, whoa, this man is actually a human. Like the leader of my country, the person who is literally setting the agenda and is bringing the country forward. It's a weird feeling. This is the dream that Malaysians had ever since they thought about this whole idea of a switch from the old to the new, towards a new government and towards PMX. But then the logical side of me just started responding and saying, whoa, hold up. Like, he's just a guy. Like, you shouldn't be placing so much on him. But then another part of me just pulled back and was like, do you know that this guy got a black eye? Do you know that this guy was brought up to the highest and then eventually brought down to the lowest right there? Betrayed over and over again. And I couldn't help having my thoughts spiral out of control. What would it mean to speak to an entire nation? What would it mean to speak to people outside of Malaysia, to lead the world in your vision? And what does it mean to be able to coordinate people to believe in that vision somehow or another? I thought about it, and I thought about it again and again. I didn't really get time to think about this though, because the ceremony was starting and everything. But somehow or another, we ended up just casually singing Negaraku. standing there and singing the Garaku was a transformative experience for me. Because as I was singing, I started thinking about the nation that I was aligned with. I couldn't help but think about the path it was charting forth in the world. I started thinking, like, what would it mean for one man to carry the weight of an entire nation's expectations? What does it mean that you carry people's dreams, hopes, their struggles, their fears, their pathway to independence, strength, and power? That's essentially what Anwar had become, right? Like, one man holding the weight of an entire nation's fever dreams for what Malaysia is, what it can become. But somehow, standing behind him in that auditorium made me realize that he was just a man. It was a strange, wonderful, and just difficult thought to deal with. Looking at him and Dato Sri Wan Aziza from the back, I just thought to myself, how can they do this job of just being a human right there, which is already so tough, but not only lead their own lives, but also lead for the millions of people in Malaysia? It felt unreal. You know, I think it's very easy to hate and criticize people if you don't really imagine yourself in their shoes. And I really think that that single encounter made me really think about what it would be like to be in his position, leading a country and dealing with nonsense on a day-to-day basis. I couldn't help but wonder to myself, how can I put my money where my mouth is and not just be a critic to this nation, but instead do better for it, improve the lives of the people around me for it? I don't know why that came upon me, but it just attacked me like a rabid tiger going straight for the jugular. And as I was looking at Prime Minister Anwar eventually speak, I noticed that one thing he talked about, but that wasn't really captured by the media, was about the role of academics. He emphasized Syed Husin's constant intellectual vitalism and his engagement with the Malaysian public, how he was a relentless advocate for the Malaysian people, and how that should be an example to the nation's leaders, its academics, its thinkers. PM also didn't shy away from difficult issues such as 3R, and he talked about all of those considerations that a multicultural, multi-diverse society must work with. How religion, royalty, and race, if exploited to seek out power, it would lead to a disaster, which is exactly what Syed Husin had preached for. As he talked about Syed Husin, his time as a student, I couldn't help but just think about his journey so far, the years of imprisonment, everything else that he'd experienced along the way. And somehow or another, I could see him just really grappling with the fact that Malaysia is this multicultural, multi-diverse nation out there that he, somehow or another, had to lead forward into the future. And I'm not gonna lie, like, it affected me quite a bit. Meeting PMX didn't really get rid of every single misgiving that I have about his leadership, but it made me want to contribute towards Malaysia. And suddenly, some words come immediately to mind. From an Eastern perspective, I would quote the famous words of the Indian poet Rabindranath Tagore, who said, "I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I awoke and saw that life was service. I acted and behold, service was joy." From a more Western perspective, ask not what your country can do for you, but rather ask what you can do for your country. These were the things that immediately came out, and it made me wonder, what could I do for my country that I'm not doing already? How can I educate more people, do better for the people around me, and lead a better life so that I can be a better example to more Malaysians out there? Maybe things are fated, maybe they are not. Maybe things are written in the stars, or maybe really at the end of the day, everything is just chaos, and it just happens without rhyme or reason. Anyway, whether it was fate, or maybe there was a force that was driving me to make this happen right there, what I do know is this. Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim, it was an absolute pleasure to meet you today. Thank you so much for your kindness in meeting me, in signing my book, and also for speaking to me along the way. You have influenced my thought process in many ways that you may not even know right now, but that I hope to bring forth into the world a little bit more as the days go by. Thank you so much for being at UM today, and I hope that you enjoyed reminiscing about Syed Husin Ali, your time at UM, and many other things along the way. Thank you for everything that you do and will continue to do for our nation, and I look forward to seeing you again soon, hopefully on Pathways. Cheers, bye.